Mel Tucker chatting with Kirk Ferentz, the Dean of Big Ten Coaches and one of the newest coaches in the league. Tucker set to begin year 2 at Michigan State after replacing Mark D'Antonio, who, of course, was there for 13 years. Got a couple of signature wins last year, beating state rival Michigan, as well as West Division champ Northwestern. Has a lot coming back from last year, but also very active in the portal. 15 scholarship transfers added during the offseason. You see among the stars returning wide receiver Jalen Nailor and safety Xavier Henderson. And he joins us now, does Mel Tucker, to talk a little bit about what's ahead for this Spartans team. Before we do that, though, Coach, I want to look back, and you want to talk about unusual debuts. I think it would be tough to have one more unusual than yours. It starts with the fact you were hired fairly late in the process. You didn't really get the chance to go through any kind of a normal recruiting schedule. And then COVID struck, eliminating your spring practice. And then, of course, we just had the weirdest year of all time in terms of not knowing week to week, day to day, which of your players would be available. Sure. And then, as I mentioned, you came through it with a couple really good wins, and beating Michigan is very significant. The only other first-year coach ever to do that at Michigan State was Nick Saban. He's fared reasonably well in this college football world. You beat the West champ at Northwestern as well. So when you put it all together, when you think about the circumstances you were hired in and one ended up happening, how do you kind of categorize last year?
I'll tell you what, it was a great learning experience. It really was. It was a tremendous challenge for me, for my staff, and for our players. But we really connected as an organization. We have a culture of connection. And the COVID experience, going through a season like that, it forced us to really connect in authentic ways, to build trusting relationships. You know, we were all in this thing together. You know, testing 6 days a week. You know, you take a test, you're waiting 15 minutes on a result. There was no vaccine. You know, and we were all out there trying to do what we love to do, to coach and to play the game of football. And so it was a challenging experience. But at the end of the day, I thought we got a lot out of it.
You know, you talked about building your program, and that starts with players. You've been very active in recruiting. That's something you're trying to revamp, but also going to the transfer portal to get some veteran players that probably have some game experience. Can you just share with us a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to going to the portal and getting players?
Yes, absolutely. We want to build through the high school ranks. However, you know, based upon my NFL experience, 10 years in the league, you build through the draft, but you supplement your team through free agency. And we take the same approach at Michigan State. We set up our personnel department the same way. We have folks that monitor the portal in junior colleges, and then we have folks that monitor the high school ranks. And so it's been a benefit to us. We're going to be aggressive in the portal. You know, we're looking for guys that are the right fit for us, for our program, for our culture, and we're going to build a football team that way.
It was never more evident last year in watching your team and also listening to from the microphone. When you guys turned the ball over, you literally, everything went wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
But then you'd have games where you guys did a great job of taking care of the ball and you just were able to have so much success. How do you transition or get guys to buy into, listen, we've got to be able to take care of the football?
Yeah, that's the number one determining factor in winning and losing is the turnover margin. I mean, if you're +1, you win 70%, +2, 80%, +3, or score on defense, you win 90% of your games. And it was evident last year. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You take care of the football, you give yourselves a chance to win. And so that was a point of emphasis for us in the out of season. Our players understand that you know, ball security is job security. And so I expect us to do a much better job this season taking care of the football.
You talked in the press conference earlier about aggregating marginal gains. You talked about this growth process with your team. What are some of the things that your players are doing to get these gains, and what do you think the biggest area of growth has been thus far?
Yes, attention to detail in every area, whether it's nutrition. We hired a full-time dietitian for football only, and she has Amber Reinstein has done a tremendous job with our players. She works with them individually, and they bought into that. And it's very, very specific and detailed, tailored just for the individual players. In the weight room, I believe your team is built in the weight room. So strength and conditioning is the foundation of everything we do. They made tremendous gains in the weight room. And We didn't have that a year ago. We didn't have the ability to train like we do, and these guys they're having a ball right now with these before and after pictures. You know, I had one of my players text me yesterday, say, "Coach, I think I'm going to post one of these pictures on social media." You know, we kind of wait and see how long we think it's going to take for a guy to post it. We gave a guy one of our players a before and after photo. It was like 6 minutes before it was up on social media.
What took him so long?
Yeah, exactly. What took him so long?
I think one of the other things you mentioned from the podium is that people have told you, hey, it's year one. It's not really year two. Yeah. And you're not buying into that. Why is that important?
No, because we had a season and we were keeping score. And we weren't good enough. And so that was our record, and we own that. You know, that's not something you sweep under the rug. You know, you evaluate it. It was real and it happened, but we learned from it, and based upon what we know in neutral thinking and what the facts were, that determines what we do next, and that determines our behavior. And behavior creates culture, okay? And so we built a better culture, a winning culture, a culture of accountability, attention to detail, sense of urgency, togetherness, chemistry, being unselfish. That bodes well for Michigan State football. And so, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. We're a work in progress, but we made tremendous strides.
You mentioned the phrase neutral thinking, and I've heard you mention that before. For the uninitiated, give us a sense of what neutral thinking means and how you apply it in your day-to-day.
Yeah, neutral thinking is basically you take the emotion out of a situation. You take the judgment out. You wring out all the judgment that you can, and you just go to the truth. And you go to the facts of the situation. You don't judge it. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It just is what it is. And based upon what you know, that determines what you do next. Okay, and that's behavior. And behavior creates the outcomes. And so, for example, with COVID, okay, we're not asking our guys to be positive about it. We're going to be non-negative. We're just going to be neutral about it and say, hey, what are the facts? What do we know? What do we know today? Okay, and based on what we know, then this is what we need to do today to get better, to make it to the next day. And so neutral thinking has helped us tremendously.
Let's talk about one of those facts around your program from last year. You were last in the Big Ten in scoring offense. I know you want to make that better. How do you go about making it better?
Well, I tell you what, it's going to take everyone. Aggregation of marginal gains in every department in our organization, every individual, and it goes to in offense as well, okay? The offensive line. We have to get bigger, faster, and stronger, and we've done that. We need to be able to run the ball. You got to control the trenches. We need to be able to run the ball on our terms, which means when we want to run it and when we need to run it, we can run the football. That will give us balance on offense, which will complement the great skill players that we have at the wide receiver position, running back, tight end, and will give our quarterback a chance. And that's what we have to have. We run the football, control the line of scrimmage, take care of the football, then we'll be more productive on offense.
After being able to spend a full offseason in person with your team and with your roster, what position group are you most looking forward to as training camp starts?
I tell you, it's the offensive line, because really that's where the rubber meets the road. And Michigan State is known for playing physical, hard-nosed football, and it starts up front in the trenches on the offensive and defensive lines. And we have a lot of guys back, okay, and they've put in a tremendous amount of work in the weight room. They're taking pride in their conditioning, in their nutrition, in their rest, in their recovery. They look different, okay, and they have a chip on their shoulder. We know we weren't able to really run the ball. We weren't able to control the line of scrimmage, and so that is a group that's going to be critical for us. And Coach Cap, our offensive line coach, run game coordinator, and assistant head coach, he's one of the best in the business. I feel like we can get it done.
You mentioned earlier about your 10-year NFL experience. How much of that NFL experience from a practice schedule standpoint are you forced to implement, or would you like to implement in the college game? Yeah,
a ton of it. I mean, it's very, very similar, especially with some of the new rules about how you can practice and contact and padded practices and things like that. The key to the drill is get your players to the game fresh and ready. And so we practice with a very fast-paced tempo. We're very efficient and effective. We don't waste any time. We stay off the ground. We want to keep each other healthy, and we want to get our work done. And that's how we go about it. That's how we did it in the NFL. You don't have to be in full pads. You don't have to go live scrimmage to the ground to get better.
I definitely agree with that. It's one of those changes you're starting to see more and more in college football. And speaking of changes, obviously name, image, and likeness is a part of this changing landscape. How is Michigan State embracing that change?
We embrace it. From day one, we were all about helping our players achieve, not just on the field, but off the field. So I hired Darian Harris to be our director of player engagement, and he's responsible for everything outside of the X's and O's, okay? Internships, career planning, career development, bringing in the entrepreneurship programs and educating our players. And so name, image, and likeness is just an extension of that. It's just accelerating that. We're able to recruit more resources to what we were already doing. And we owe it to the players, okay, to do what we said we were going to do in recruiting. Is to make sure that you reach your full potential, not just on the field, but off the field. It is our responsibility to educate these guys and set these guys up for life after football so they can go out there and be successful. It's a transformative opportunity, okay? And we're going to transform their lives, okay? And they're going to be able to transform the people that they lead.
How much better were you guys able to develop as recruiters going through what you went through with COVID that you'll be able to use moving forward?
Yeah, well, we signed an entire class on Zoom, FaceTime, calls and texts. 34 guys. And that was quite a challenge. So when it opened back up in the quiet period, we were actually able to get folks on campus. You was like, are you kidding me? We get a chance to shake a hand, you know what I mean? We get a chance to dap somebody up and give someone a hug. I mean, you can see them face to face. And so it made it, we appreciate the opportunity to connect in person. And when recruits, student athletes, and their parents, okay, and when they come to campus and they walk in our building, they can feel it. They can feel it. It's the connection. It's authentic. It's real. And that's what folks are looking for right now, and we're giving it to them.
Yeah. Mel, you mentioned connecting in person. I think one of our regrets last year was we did not get a chance to do that with you, nor with Greg Schiano, the two new coaches in the league. Really a pleasure to connect today, and appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mel Tucker, coach of the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State Spartans enjoying the day here at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Of course, like every team in the Big Ten, hoping to return here for the conference championship game in December. Here is the schedule ahead for Michigan State. They open against Northwestern on September the 3rd. Remember, a team they beat a year ago, have a tough non-conference matchup at Miami of Florida as well. So that the slate and the challenge for the Spartans. And pleased to be joined by three of their stars, Jalen Nailor, Drew Beesley, and Xavier Henderson. Guys, welcome. Great to have you with us. Jalen, I'll start with you. This is the first time we've had a chance to visit with any of you guys individually since Coach Tucker took over. Obviously, last year was such an unusual season. So I'm interested in all of your thoughts. Jalen, why don't you lead the way? Give us a sense of what his style is and what Michigan State football under Mel Tucker has come to represent.
A tough mentality, style sport, intense, super enthusiastic every day. There's no day there coach is not coming in enthusiastic, trying to fire the guys up. It's just a wonderful time that we're a part of, knowing that we can switch up the culture and then learn from Coach Tuck and bring that a part of our new culture.
Drew, what have you learned from Coach?
Well, he's a guy that's going to get the best out of every single person. And it doesn't matter what your role is. You could be a starter, you could be a scout team, you could be a coach or a trainer. You know, he's going to get the best out of everyone, help them, to get them to do anything and everything with a relentless effort. And, he's all about attacking and trying to achieve our goal. And that goal is to get to the Big Ten championship.
Xavier, how has he put his stamp on this program?
Yeah, well, Coach Tuck wants to win maybe more than any of us. So he He is putting that attention to all the little details. He's out there. He's a very hands-on type of coach, even though he was coaching DBs back in the day. So he gets out there with us, but he goes up to any position group and is getting after them and pushing them to be the best they can be.
I was talking about this with him a little bit earlier. It was such an unusual year last year, and I think it was heightened considerably for your program by the fact that not only did you have a first-year coach, but he was hired pretty late in the process, and then you didn't get a chance to have spring practice. So as you think back to last year and some of the things that you guys accomplished, I mean, you beat your rival in Michigan. You beat the team that ended up winning the West in Northwestern. How do you put last year into perspective, Xavier, of year one for Coach Tucker and what you accomplished?
A lot of lessons that we learned. I'm not going to say it was a good year. We had some opportunities to do better than what we did. We're going to take that into this year, keep trusting our process that Coach Tucker talks about all the time, and we're going to show up on Saturdays and just try to execute.
What do you think was the biggest challenge in that situation, Drew?
I think it was just, we had to work with what we had. Last year we didn't have spring ball, and, we had to do everything over Zoom. And, it's not the same, doing it over Zoom back at home and not being with your guys. Being together with the guys means everything to us. And, I feel like, we overcame a lot. And, we worked with what we had, and we prevailed in a lot of areas. And, we beat Michigan and Northwestern last year, games people didn't think we were going to win. And, those are games where we played our best football, and we got to do that on a consistent basis.
Jalen, give us a little bit of an insight into what it was like to be back together in the spring.
It was a wonderful time to be back, get on the field with the coaches and the players, something that we didn't have the previous year with the new coaching staff. Just being able to be around them more, interact with them, learn more about each other. That's what really, I think, separated us this past spring and leading into summer.
So how do you guys become more consistent? I think you showed us last year what you can be when you're at your best. And so I think the question, Jalen, becomes, how are you at your best more often? What do you guys need to do to make games like that the norm?
We just got to execute. We got to execute better. We had a lot of mental errors that we left out on the field that we watched in film. Those things can be fixed just with preparation and just executing.
Drew?
Yeah, a lot like what Jalen said. It's execution and paying attention to the details. Everyone doing their job, doing their 111th, and bringing someone along with you. We got a lot of new guys that are on our team this year, and it's our job as veterans and older players to get them acclimated and get them ready for the fall this season.
I'm interested in some of those new guys, Xavier, and you brought in a ton of guys, our Coach Tucker did, out of the transfer portal. This is the new world of college football. And he and I talked about this a little bit earlier today. It really changes the template a little bit for rebuilding a program because you can accelerate that process and bring in players who can kind of fill some of those holes that you may have inherited. So, Xavier, give us a sense of some of the guys that you saw in the spring who are transfers, who are new faces in this program, who you think can make an immediate impact and who Spartan fans will want to know about.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker is the first name that comes to mind. Our running back we got, he's explosive. He can go. We got some dudes. Jared Horst plays O-line. Should help us out. And then we got some dudes in over the summer. Kavarius Crouch, Ronald Williams. We got a lot of names, and there'll be a lot of dudes that Spartan fans should get acclimated to.
Drew, who stood out to you?
I think the big standout for me is Drew Jordan, the transfer from Duke. He's a big guy. He's very explosive, and I didn't have to teach him a lot this offseason because his football IQ is through the roof. He knows what he's doing. The game is nothing new to him, and he was my lifting partner pretty much all offseason. That kid is competitive. He wants to win, and he chose a good place to do it because I feel like we're going to win a lot of games this season.
Jalen, everyone always wants to know about the quarterbacks, so you are uniquely positioned to tell us about those, well, maybe the two players right off the top, and Peyton Thorne and Anthony Russo, who I think are kind of in the spotlight as the potential starters. Give us a sense of the strength of each one of those guys, starting with Peyton.
Starting with Peyton, his leadership role, like the way he tries to lead the offense or the defense, like whatever it is, it could be conditioning during the lift. He's always trying to lead in his own type of way. And then with Russo, I love the way he just come in. He's a hard worker. he knows that there's going to be a competition between him and Peyton. And I see both of them just keeping their heads down, just trying to be a leader and just trying to lead this team.
Drew, you're a sixth-year senior. You chose to come back. You already have an economics degree. What moved you to come back and say, this is the program I want to be a part of for my final year?
Well, I just kind of figured, it being a normal year this year, and, I just felt like, if I were to leave, would I regret it? And, that's the question I didn't want to ask myself down the road. So, and plus I just feel like Coach Tucker's doing something really special here with this program that I just wanted to be a part of. And plus, I get another year of school and, I get another year of tape added to my resume. So I felt like it was a lot more positives than I thought. And plus, my family wasn't able to come last season. So for them to be there and all of Spartan Nation to be in the stadium supporting us, it just means the world.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing to see those stadiums filled once again. And, I give you guys so much credit being away from your family and away from your friends outside of the football team last year. Amazing what all of you accomplished, all the student athletes in the Big Ten. And now you look to accomplish more W's here, Drew. I'm interested from both you and Xavier, this defense. Tell us about the steps and the strides that you guys have made and why you believe this will be a special year.
Well, we got a lot of new guys coming in and, a lot of guys that are going to help us this season. And Coach Hazelton emphasizes it all the time. Do your job, do your 111th, and, good things are going to happen with this defense.
Xavier, tell us about what you've seen in terms of defensive improvement.
Yeah, well, we get that spring ball back that we talked about we didn't have. And just like Speedy said, we had some mental errors. And, mental errors on defense, especially in the back end, leads to touchdowns. So just getting used to the defense and how Coach Hazelton likes to call games, understanding our roles so we can understand what the offense is how they're trying to attack us. Stuff like that will help us make strides this year.
Jalen, it's funny, we were talking to Coach Tucker, and he was singing the praises of your strength and conditioning staff, and he was talking about guys posting these before and after pictures on their social media of the physical strides and gains that they have made, and he was saying, with some of you guys, it takes like 6 minutes for it to end up on your Twitter account. You posted one along with Jaden Reed, who plays wide receiver as well. Tell us about that transformation of your body and how you've seen it translate onto the field.
Well, it's a big a game changer for us. The whole strength and conditioning staff, the nutritionist, Amber, they're all focused on us, trying to get us as best as we can in shape, the right things in our bodies. So as you see in those pictures, it's totally showing, and it's making a difference on the field as well.
Last question for each of you. I'm curious how you define success for Michigan State football this year. And why don't you lead us off, Jalen?
Success, first off, Big Ten championship. That's the number one right now.
Drew?
Success is simply, guys just buying in, doing their job, and attack it with a relentless effort. And, usually good things happen, and we win ball games.
Xavier?
I want to see how we bounce back from adversity. That one time we get a bad half, a bad quarter, I want to see how we play after that, and that'll be how successful we can be the rest of the year.
Well, best of luck to you guys. Really a pleasure to visit with you.